Unlocking the shocking secrets of Matthew, biblical truths you never knew. Today, Matthew was no ordinary name, but a vessel of mysteries that shook the very foundation of faith. Picture this, an obscure manuscript, hidden away for centuries, dust-encrusted and forgotten in a crowded attic, whispers chilling secrets of the past. What if this manuscript held the power to rewrite everything we thought we knew about biblical history? It wasn't just a story, it was a time bomb waiting to explode, unleashing revelations that could ignite debates and spark faith-altering conversations across the globe. People said that Matthew's original gospel included lost parables, tales of miraculous events that twisted the very fabric of belief we clung to. Imagine unearthing a line that suggested Jesus once had a secret twin, a sibling whose existence had been masked by time itself. The elders stormed their churches with this gossip, voices trembling, shaking their heads in disbelief and cautious curiosity. The air buzzed with tension. Could it be true? The entire congregation gasped as reports of strange happenings swirled through the village, crosses glowing at night, miracles occurring at the break of dawn. It sent shivers down spines. Dare I say, in this scriptural labyrinth, there is a dark alley home to whispers of an ancient prophecy foretelling an upcoming betrayal. One that involved deception so profound, it could shatter the faith of millions. Who could hold such power? The thought alone caused waves of panic, sending chills up the spines of even the strongest believers. Rumors about Matthew's direct connection to these events began floating like autumn leaves on a brisk wind, urging the town into a frenzy. Could this bibliographic exploration put everything they worshipped to the test? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As shadows stretched darker across the town, hearts raced with a mix of fear and excitement. This wasn't just about old scrolls anymore, it was a call to arms, to unveil truths buried beneath layers of time. What awaited them in the depths of this mystery? The townsfolk found themselves standing at a crossroads, drawn towards the unknown path, promising secrets, but lingering apprehension held them back. What secrets would slip free just beyond reach? And who, or what, would they be forced to confront? The tremors of uncertainty danced through the town, an electric thrill pulsating in the air as if the very ground were alive with impending revelation. The moon hung low, casting eerie shadows against crooked rooftops, while murmurs of disbelief seeped into every corner. Questions clung to the tongue like the damp fog that settled over the streets. Ruth, a quiet woman with a faith that ran as deep as her roots, found herself staring at the attic window of the dilapidated church at the center of town. It had been years since anyone dared step inside. The door, once welcoming, now creaked ominously every time a brave soul ventured too close. But that evening, she felt an unusual pull, a calling to confront the shadows that loomed. What knowledge lay within those forgotten walls? Gathering her courage, she reached for the doorknob. It was cold and unwelcoming, a sharp contrast to the warmth of her hesitations. She pushed the heavy door open, the sound echoing like a ghostly whisper. Dust motes danced in the thin beams of light that filtered through cracked stained glass. Inside, the air was thick, charged with secrets. The ancient wooden beams seemed to sway, almost alive, as the wind howled outside. Her heart raced as she stepped further, the creaking floorboards a cacophony of warnings at every step. Just as she approached a thick tome perched precariously on a pedestal draped in cobwebs, a gust of wind blew through, slamming the door shut behind her. Panic set in. What was that? She gasped, the weight of the moment pressing down on her chest. Was it curiosity or madness that drove her deeper into the heart of the mystery? Ruth opened the book, its pages cracked and brittle. Unfamiliar words glared up at her, each one feeling like an echo of lost truth. Parables once voiced by the inhabitants of ancient lands began to unfold. She scanned the pages, trembling. Images of a life lived in the shadows flickered before her eyes, whispers of a twin, betrayal, and moments that had the power to transform faith into doubt. Who would dare keep this hidden? She murmured, her breath hitching as a shadow seemed to twitch in the corner of her eye. Suddenly, she heard footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, moving toward her. The floor shook under the weight of an approaching figure, fear curling around her like a vice. "Show yourself," Ruth called out, trying to sound braver than she felt. But silence answered her, a stillness that was almost palpable. Then, the shadows shifted. A man stepped into the light, a stranger clad in a dark cloak, his face obscured. "You shouldn't have come here," he warned, his voice a low rumble that danced on the edge of threat. "The truths you seek, they are not meant for you." Ruth's heart raced. Was this the keeper of the secrets? The betrayer foretold in whispers? With the weight of the manuscript in her hands and the stranger looming before her, she faced the unsettling truth. Unraveling Matthew's mysteries could cost her everything. What further darkness lay ahead? Could she trust anyone or anything in this fragile revelation? As the tension thickened and shadows encroached upon her, Ruth felt the chilling touch of fate closing in. Could the secrets of Matthew forge her destiny, or would they lead her to her doom? The darkness creeping closer held more than unanswered questions, it locked away dangers yet to be revealed. What came next would change everything. The stranger's eyes glinted with a mixture of warning and intrigue as he took a cautious step closer. Ruth clutched the tome tighter, her fingers trembling, feeling the rough texture of the old cover dig into her skin. "Get back!" she shouted, her voice suddenly loud, fierce like a lion's roar, though internally she felt like a cornered rabbit. "Do you even know what you're holding?" he hissed, the shadows of the attic swirling around him, making it hard to discern where he ended and the darkness began. Ruth forced herself to meet his gaze, determined to hold her ground. "Is it dangerous?" she demanded, hardly recognizing the strength fueling her words. "If it's so sacred, why leave it here, hidden away from everyone? Why not share its truth?" The man chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound filled with disdain. "You're naive if you think knowledge brings freedom. Some truths bind far tighter than any chains." His words settled like a stone in her gut, making her think of the town, their lives, all of it. Still, there was no turning back. "If it's worth hiding, it's worth knowing," she challenged, her heart pounding not just with fear, but anger. In one swift move, the stranger lunged for the book, and Ruth felt a surge of instinct propelling her to the side. A wild clash ensued, a tangle of limbs and desperation. She wrestled with shadows, uncertainty loomed like a looming thunderstorm. A loud crash echoed through the attic as she knocked a shelf, sending dusty artifacts clattering to the floor. The sound reverberated through the empty church, shaking the silence and making Ruth's heart race even faster. The man stumbled back, momentarily disoriented, and that fleeting moment was all she needed. Ruth seized the opportunity and darted toward the church's only exit, her breath quickening with hope. The door felt like salvation, but as she reached for the handle, she heard the deep, rumbling voice pierce through the air like a bolt of lightning. "You can't run from your fate, Ruth. The chilling truths will find you, whether you like it or not." The words were like a curse, wrapping around her throat with a stranglehold. She hesitated, fear gnawing at her insides. Had he just spoken her name? How did he know her? Gritting her teeth, she twisted the knob and rushed out into the night, the cool air hitting her face like a splash of cold water. She could hear him shouting behind her, but she didn't stop. She ran, fueled by adrenaline, the town enveloped in shadows that felt more alive and threatening than ever, but as she sprinted down the streets, the weight of the ancient manuscript lingered in her mind. What had she uncovered? The community was still nestled in their slumber, unaware of the storm brewing within its heart. Determined not to let fear steal her newfound courage, Ruth burst into her home, locking the door behind her. She leaned against it, gasping for air, her hands slick with sweat. Beneath the adrenaline, a knot of doubt twisted in her stomach. What if the stranger was right? Was she destined to unravel secrets better left untouched? Her eyes fell on the book lying on the table. Shadows flickered, and the curled pages hinted at revelations that could change everything: her life, her purpose. As the moonlight poured through her window, illuminating the tome, a realization dawned on her: perhaps some secrets weren't just about knowledge. They were about choices, sacrifices, and the strength to face the shadows head-on. With a deep breath, she stepped closer to the table, poised to delve deeper into the truths hidden within. Little did she know, the stranger wasn't the only threat stalking her. Outside, footsteps echoed, slow and deliberate, drawing nearer. Ruth's heart raced as she spun around, the ominous feeling settling deep in her chest. Who was out there? What did they want? And just as she felt the weight of fear creeping in again, a shadowy figure appeared outside her window. The night was far from over. The figure outside flickered in the moonlight, a silhouette that made Ruth's heart pound like a drum inside her chest. She pressed her back against the door, listening intently. The footsteps grew closer, each one like a ticking clock amplifying her dread. Ruth opened the door, a voice called softly. It was disarming, familiar. It was Matthew, her childhood friend, or so she thought. Matthew? She whispered, her voice trembling slightly. She understood now why the stranger had known her name. But could she trust him? Let me in, Ruth. Please, he pleaded, his tone laced with urgency, but something about it sent a chill down her spine. It felt off, uncharacteristic. She glanced at the tome on the table, its pages fluttering as if beckoning her to uncover its hidden burdens. Unsure, she took a hesitant step forward, still not convinced Matthew was who he claimed to be. Why did you say my name? She demanded, reaching for the lamp, turning it on and throwing light on the figure, revealing a face she recognized but didn't fully trust. He looked different, shadowed by the night and something darker. I saw what happened in the church, he said, his voice lower now, almost strained. I need to talk to you about the book. We don't have much time. Time for what? What do you know? Ruth shot back, her resolve hardening. Matthew swallowed hard, glancing back over his shoulder to the street as if something or someone lurked just beyond the shadows. There's a reason that book was hidden, Ruth. It carries more than just knowledge, it holds power, dangerous power. His words echoed the warning of the stranger, igniting her unease. Then why should I trust you? Because I'm trying to protect you, he said earnestly. His eyes glistened with sincerity, or was it desperation? You think this is just about a book? It's about all of us. The town wouldn't handle the truth. They'll come after you if they find out you have it. The gravity of his statement sunk in. Were they in danger because of what she had done? She could feel the shadows closing in, entangled in the whispers of secrets better left hidden. Tell me everything, she demanded, casting a wary glance toward the window, the dark depths of the night now feeling alive around her. Okay, he nodded slowly, but we have to move first. Before she could respond, he slipped to the side of the house and motioned for her to follow. They're closing in faster than you think. Without thinking, Ruth grabbed the tome and the flashlight, racing to the door. She opened it just a crack, the cool air brushing against her face, a warning chill compelling her to hesitate. Ruth, please, Matthew urged, urgency tightening his voice. This isn't a game. We're running out of time. With that, she stepped out into the night, her breath hitching as she joined him under the star-speckled sky. The street felt strangely alive, each shadow a potential threat, each gust of wind a portent of what lay ahead. What do you mean by closing in? She pressed, her heart racing faster than her feet could carry her. The stranger who chased you, that's just the beginning. There are others. Those who want the knowledge for themselves. Those who have been waiting. Goosebumps prickled her arms, fear coiling tightly as they moved deeper into the night. Of all the things she was prepared for, this was not it. The darkness surrounding them felt dense and heavy, as if harboring eyes that watched closely. "How do you know all this?" she urged, trying to keep her tone steady. "Because it runs in my family. We're connected to the secrets the book holds. More than you know." Just then, a loud crash echoed behind them. Ruth's heart raced, adrenaline surged through her veins. "Run!" Matthew shouted, and without thinking, Ruth sprinted forward, the shadows swallowing her in frantic chase. But the real question loomed large in her mind. What secrets did they truly hold? What was at stake, and more importantly, who could she trust? The night stretched on, thick with tension, and as they darted through the winding alleyways, new fears emerged. All Ruth could think was, what had she unlocked by simply opening that old tome? They dashed down the narrow alley, twinkling street lamps barely illuminating the cobblestones beneath them. Ruth could hear her own breaths coming in sharp gasps, panic coursing through her veins like fire. Matthew stayed close, his arm brushing against her shoulder with every sharp turn, urging her on. "What was that noise?" she panted, glancing back, half expecting to see a ghostly figure emerging behind them, shadows stretching long in the night. "Just keep moving," Matthew urged, eyes darting, scanning the darkened road. "We need to get to the old warehouse at the edge of town. It's remotely safe there." "Remotely safe?" she echoed, dread gnawing at her. "What do you mean? Is there nowhere safe?" "Not while the book is out in the open," he replied grimly. "If anyone finds out you have it, they'll want it for themselves." The weight of his words struck her harder than any blow. What had she dived into? What mess had her curiosity conjured? They rounded a corner, the scent of damp earth mixing with the staleness of fear closing in on them. "Matthew, you have to tell me more," she urged, her pulse racing. "What does my family have to do with this?" He hesitated, his expression darkening. "It's complicated. But your family, they have been protectors of the knowledge for generations. That book, it holds the truth about our past, about our town. Secrets that, if released, could change everything." Ruth's heart sank as they rounded another turn. "Secrets? What kind of secrets?" He glanced back again, brows furrowed, urgency intensifying. "The kind that shakes foundations, that reveals the darkness that lives among us. You have to trust me, Ruth." "But I'm afraid the others." Suddenly, a crash echoed behind them again, this time closer, a splintering of wood sending adrenaline slashing through her. "What the hell is that?" "Don't stop," Matthew yelled, gripping her wrist tighter, pulling her faster. His grip felt like a lifeline, but the panic felt like a noose. The warehouse loomed ahead, a hulking silhouette against the night sky, windows cracked and dark. They sprinted towards the entrance, breathless, hearts pounding, and just as they reached the door, the light from a flashlight swept across their path, illuminating the sound of approaching footsteps echoing in relentless pursuit behind them. "Get inside," Matthew barked, and they both dove through the doorway. The interior of the warehouse smelled of mildew and rust, dimly lit only by the slivers of moonlight spilling through dust-coated windows. Ruth leaned against the wall, chest heaving, struggling to catch her breath. Matthew flung the door shut, wedging a rusty metal rod against it. "What now?" she rasped, fear pooling in her stomach as the footsteps grew closer outside, heavy and relentless. He ran a hand through his hair, tension visible in every line of his face. "We wait. And we talk." "Talk?" The word tasted bitter. "About what? You can't just spring this all on me." Matthew met her eyes, the glow of the flashlight flickering on his face, casting eerie shadows. "About the town. The truth behind why the book was hidden and the dangers we're facing now because you found it." Before Ruth could reply, a loud thud reverberated against the door, the metallic rod rattling precariously as the footsteps stopped abruptly. Ruth held her breath, every muscle tensed, readying her for the unknown. Then, silence. A heavy pause, thick and suffocating. With each passing second, dread filled the air like a dormant storm, waiting to break. "Matthew?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "What happens if they find us?" He turned, his eyes fierce yet uncertain. "We fight, or we run, but there's more at stake here than just us." Before Ruth could process his words, a sinister laughter echoed from the doorway, chilling her to the core. It was a voice she didn't recognize, deep and mocking, slicing through the silence with an icy blade. "Ruth, oh, Ruth," it taunted softly, "did you really think you could hide forever?" Panic surged. Ruth backed away, breath quickening. A new question surged: who was that? What did she unlock, and what? Shadows were closing in around her. Just then, a pulse of realization struck her. She needed to know the truth before it was too late. But what if it was the truth itself that put them both in danger? The oppressive silence seemed to stretch, wrapping around Ruth and Matthew like a thick fog. The mocking voice outside sent chills racing down Ruth's spine, tightening her throat. She hadn't even considered that their flight might have led them directly into a trap. "What do we do?" Ruth whispered, panic almost paralyzing her. Matthew's gaze was fixed on the door, a flicker of resolve replacing the fear in his eyes. "We follow my lead. They're looking for you, Ruth. But that doesn't mean we're cornered." Another thud rang out, harder this time, grinding against the door like a warning bell. The rod held firm, but the laughter continued, a low, persistent chuckle that clawed at her nerves. "Why don't you let her go?" the voice mocked. "She's too precious to risk in a battle destined to end in failure. Give up, Matthew. We both know how this ends." "Who are you?" Ruth shouted back, anger flaring momentarily through her fear. "What do you want with me?" The laughter died down for just a moment, replaced by a chilling pause, before the voice responded with heavy disdain. "You unlocked the door to so many horrors, little girl. You hold the key to our town's legacy, but it's not what you think. Are you ready to discover the truths buried beneath your family's lies?" Ruth felt the color drain from her face. Lies? What could possibly be hidden? As she looked at Matthew, she saw the flicker of something in his eyes: hurt, regret, and a desperate plea for understanding. "Focus, Ruth. We've trained for moments like this," he said, his voice steadier, cutting through the tension. "Remember what I taught you. We need to find the shadows." "What shadows?" she snapped, fear giving rise to frustration. "This isn't a game. People are out there trying to find us." "Exactly, and we need the truth to protect us." His brows knitted together, urgency clawing at him. "When they come in, we have to access the map. We can't let them seize the book or its power." She swallowed hard, remembering the ancient symbols etched within its pages, the secrets that could unveil horrors she never imagined. "What map?" "Matthew, I barely know what's happening. Is this about the book or about something deeper?" "Both," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The book is linked to the town's history, Ruth. It reveals truths meant to remain buried. Your family protected it because they knew the risks." As desperate breaths clawed at her lungs, Ruth felt the weight of her legacy crashing down on her. "But why me? I'm not a protector. I don't even know what that means." "Because you're the last one left," he said sharply, stepping closer as the door rattled again. "And if you don't embrace it, everything could be lost." Just then, the door creaked ominously, the rod slipping slightly as another forceful strike hit. "Matthew! They're getting in!" Ruth gasped, her heart hammering. He turned, determination etched on his features. "We're running out of time. We need to prepare. Trust me, Ruth. We can handle this together." But before she could respond, the door splintered under the relentless assault. A crack widened, and a slim figure slipped inside. Flickering shadows illustrated the face of a woman with piercing eyes and an almost predatory smile. "Hello, Ruth," the woman greeted, voice dripping with mock sympathy. "I'm here to show you what your family tried to hide and to take what rightfully belongs to me." Ruth's heart plummeted as realization hit her. This was just the beginning. "Matthew," she started, dread sinking colder than the night around them. But his expression turned from fierce to fearful as the shadows behind the woman began to shift and swirl, creeping closer, forming shapes she could barely comprehend. "Run!" Matthew shouted, grabbing her arm. But even as they launched themselves into the dim light of the warehouse, Ruth couldn't shake the feeling that every step they took only deepened the shadows behind them. What would it cost to reveal the secrets hidden deep within, and could they escape the darkness closing in? As the laughter echoed again, mingling with the whispers of ancient secrets, they sprinted toward the depths of the warehouse, the promise of truth and terror entwined at their heels. Ruth's lungs burned as they dashed deeper into the warehouse, darkness swallowing them whole. Matthew's grip on her arm was a lifeline, tugging her through the maze of scattered crates and looming silhouettes. Behind them, the woman's laughter trailed like a sinister echo, a reminder that they weren't safe yet. "Where are we going?" Ruth gasped, her heart racing. It thudded in her chest like a drum, drowning out all other sounds. "To the map," Matthew called over his shoulder. "It's the only way to find the answers and fight back." Answers. All she wanted was clarity, but it felt more elusive than ever. She could hardly wrap her mind around the idea that her family had hidden truth's horrors from her all this time. What else could she uncover? "Matthew, what if we can't find it?" The doubt snaked its way into her voice. "There's no other option." His words crackled with urgency. "If they get the book first, they'll have the power to rewrite everything." The shadows behind them thickened, and she could feel their weight pressing down, whispering twisted promises of despair. Ruth swallowed hard, pushing past her fear. She had to fight, not just for her life but for the legacy she was tied to. As they raced past a collection of old machinery, Matthew yanked her into a narrow passageway, barely wide enough for them both. The air was stale, and she could feel the weight of silence pressing down, but there was no time to dwell. Ruth stumbled as they emerged into a larger, dimly lit room. "Over there." Matthew pointed to the ominous outline of a wooden table draped in a dusty cloth. As they rushed closer, they could see a glimmer beneath the fabric. "Help me!" Matthew shouted, pulling the cloth away with frantic energy. Ruth's breath hitched as intricately carved symbols emerged, swirling around a large piece of parchment. "Is this it?" she whispered, amazed and terrified all at once. "That's the map," he said, studying it with a mix of awe and dread. "It's said to lead to the location of the secrets your family tried to bury. If we decipher it, we might stand a chance." Before she could respond, a shadow flickered in the corner of the room, and then it twisted, elongating before congealing into the form of the woman they had fled. "You think you can escape me? You're only delaying the inevitable," she taunted, her voice a sing-song mockery. "Matthew, we need to hurry," Ruth cried, dread wrapping her like a vice. But Matthew was already focused on the map. He traced a finger along the symbols, and the air around them suddenly crackled with energy. "Ruth, I think it's working. The map, it's connecting." A pulse surged through the room, radiating a warmth that drove back the oppressive shadows, if only for a moment. Ruth felt hope flicker inside her. Could this truly be their salvation? She edged closer, eyes scanning the chaotic script, searching for some hidden truth. "Legend says those who unveil the secrets will gain powers beyond imagination, but with it comes a heavy price," Matthew murmured, his brow furrowed in concentration. "That sounds ominous," Ruth said, a shiver pushing up her spine. "What kind of price?" Just as he opened his mouth to respond, the shadows clawed at the edges of the room, swirling ominously toward them. The woman laughed, the sound slicing through the air like a blade. You're playing a dangerous game, children. You don't know what lurks in the shadows. Ruth's heart dropped, the map's glow dimming as darkness crept closer. Maybe uncovering the truth was a mistake. What if they uncovered more than they were ready for? Matthew. Panic laced her voice as the shadow surged, a wave of darkness ready to swallow them whole. He was still focused on the symbols, unyielding. Ruth, I need you to help me. We have to finish this. But before she could respond, the room shook violently. Dust fell from the rafters, and the air grew thick with tension. Finish what? Ruth shouted, desperate for answers as the shadows lunged forward. Before Matthew could answer, the woman's fingers curled into a fist, and the energy in the room crackled. Electric, igniting a vortex of chaos around them. Time's up. She grinned, eyes glinting dangerously in the dim light. As shadows swallowed her words, Ruth realized the truth might come at a price she could never have anticipated. Now the question loomed larger than ever: would they be able to unveil the dark secrets buried in her family's past, or would those very truths consume them both? In that moment, Ruth understood. The shadows weren't just chasing them, they were alive, craving what had been hidden for far too long, and they wouldn't stop until they got it. The shadows lunged forward, pulsing with a sinister hunger. Ruth felt her breath hitch in her throat, a lump swelling as panic clawed at her insides. Could she face whatever horrors awaited behind the truth they sought? Matthew! She screamed, her voice barely registering over the cacophony roaring in her ears. She could see the map flickering in and out of focus, the energy it radiated struggling against the encroaching dark. He looked up, eyes wide, fear mingling with determination. Ruth, focus. We have to unlock it. The warehouse shuddered again, and the woman's face twisted in delight, a malevolent grin stretching across her lips. Unlock it? Oh, sweet child, you've no idea what you're about to unleash. Ruth felt a tug of doubt, a frigid chill creeping up her spine. Was the truth worth this rising dread? Yet, before she could voice her fear, Matthew leaned closer to the map, his fingers dancing across the symbols as if trying to summon something from within. A sudden jolt of energy surged through the air, crackling like static electricity. Ruth reached out instinctively, grabbing hold of Matthew's arm. What if it's dangerous? He hesitated, glancing at her for a heartbeat. We can't stop now. If that woman gets to it first. His voice trailed off, the threat hanging ominously between them. With a deep breath, Ruth stepped closer. They needed to decipher the map. Together, they could defy the darkness. Her heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her veins, feeling alive amidst the chaos. She stared at the swirling symbols, trying to weave them together in her mind. Then, a memory flickered, her grandmother's old stories about the family's past, spoken in hushed tones around the fire. She had always brushed them aside as mere folklore, but now they felt like pieces of a puzzle waiting to be assembled. Wait! The stories! Ruth exclaimed. The hidden chambers. They were real. Matthew's eyes lit up with recognition. Yes. If we align the map with those places, maybe we can find it. The woman's laughter slithered into their moment, cold as ice. Foolish children. What you seek is buried in layers of betrayal and blood. The truth will swallow you whole. Ignoring her taunts, Ruth nodded, heart pounding. Let us do it. Show me the spots. We need to hurry. As Matthew's finger traced paths through the symbols, Ruth's mind raced through visions: candlelit rooms, cracked mirrors, hidden doors. Those moments she remembered felt real in a way that sent shivers through her. Could they truly lead the way? The warehouse walls trembled, shadows pulsing in tandem with Ruth's growing heartbeat. She could feel them, tendrils of darkness ready to snatch them away. Matthew, please. He looked trapped in the map's intricate labyrinth, his brow furrowed. Ruth, I think it's here. It's guiding us. Suddenly, a beam of illumination burst forth from the parchment, casting the room in a blinding light. The map glowed resplendently, illuminating eluding creatures of darkness. "Now!" Ruth shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Read the inscription." Matthew leaned closer, reciting fragments, and with each word, she felt an answering pulse resonate within her. Yet, just as clarity seemed to break through the chaos, the air grew thick with treachery. The woman's laughter transformed into a shriek, filled with rage. "You think you can claim what's mine?" Ruth's heart raced with dread when shadows erupted from the floor, growing and spreading like dark flames, roaring for attention. "We can't stop," she yelled, panic spilling from her chest. "Keep going. We're close," Matthew urged, his face a mask of determination and fear. With every syllable Matthew spoke, the energy pitch climbed higher, vibrating around them, a whirlwind of light battling the consuming darkness. Just then, something flickered in Ruth's mind. A sense of reason, raw and blistering. She had seen this energy before. Then, the shadows surged again with a deafening crescendo, collapsing in around them. Ruth gasped, feeling a surge of adrenaline. This time, it wasn't just fear, it was an electric surge of defiance. "Matthew, hold on." The light shimmered, swirling with power that felt different, familiar. They were not just unlocking the secrets but awakening something profound. "Ruth!" Matthew pleaded, clutching her arm tighter, eyes wide with realization. "This isn't just about the past. It's about us. It changes everything." But before she could fully grasp his words, darkness enveloped them, leeching the light. A shattering silence cut through the air as a blinding tear unraveled in the map. Ruth felt the ground tremble, and as she met Matthew's gaze, the truth struck her like icy fingers. What if we can awaken even greater shadows? In that instant, the walls fractured, and the darkness burbled, hungry and wild. The glowing sigils pulsed violently as the portal ensued, swirling with secrets waiting. What awaited them on the other side could be salvation or disaster. There was no turning back, only the unraveling of shadows stretched out before them, and somewhere beyond awaited the true essence of their legacy. Would they dive headfirst into the heart of darkness, or would they slip through the cracks and become lost in their family's twisted history? The darkness folded around Ruth and Matthew like a suffocating cloak, a thick shroud that dimmed the once vibrant glow of the map. Shadows twisted into monstrous forms that seemed to grasp for them, claws of nothingness reaching out, hungry to reclaim what light dared to illuminate. "Matthew!" Ruth shouted, her heart pounding like a war drum against her ribcage. "We have to focus. We can't let it trap us." He nodded, jaw set tight, but his eyes revealed the storm swirling inside, fear battling with resolve. "Keep reading, Ruth. We can harness the light. Harness it." But the words hung in the air, stifled by the encroaching darkness. The woman's laughter echoed cruelly, mingling with the ominous whispers of long-buried secrets. "You've already awakened what you don't understand. The price is steep." Ruth could almost feel the weight of history pushing against her, every breath a struggle against the tide of despair. "No. We're stronger together," she yelled, channeling every ounce of defiance she had left. The map pulsed between them, an uneasy heartbeat in the chaos. As Matthew spoke the ancient phrases, the air crackled again, swelling with energy that felt both familiar and alien. Ruth felt the tickle of forgotten memories flash through her, shadows of the past meeting the darkness. "Ruth." Matthew's tone shifted, his voice trembling. "What if we're the ones meant to stop her? What if this is why we're here, right now?" The thought struck Ruth like lightning. Had her grandmother's stories prepared them for this moment, or had they unknowingly baited the dark specters lurking just underneath the surface of their family's legacy? The whispers of those tales came rushing back, a blend of fear and excitement. "Concentrate on the key phrases," she urged, fumbling to recall the intricate details she had learned as a child. Each detail felt like a thread, and together they could weave a stronger tapestry, a protective barrier. Their essay verse about sacrifice. She recalled, her voice filled with urgency. We need to harness that energy, we have to bind what's emerging. Do it. Matthew shouted as a surge of darkness lashed out, tearing through the air. Shadows morphed, arching overhead like a predator ready to strike. Ruth felt a chill chase down her spine but fought against it. She closed her eyes, boots grounding her in defiance. By blood, we break the chains of evil. By truth, we reclaim the night. She shouted, feeling the words carry weight. Each incantation became a shield, pushing back against the malevolence clawing at their sanity. Suddenly, a crack resounded deep within the walls, fracturing reality. Luminous fragments shot forth from the map, illuminating streaks of shadow that writhed as if in agony. The floor quaked beneath them, a visceral reminder that they were teetering on the edge of something monumental. Ruth! Look! Matthew pointed, eyes wide as the map erupted, symbols glowing fiercely, pushing against the encroaching night. The hidden chambers, they're aligning. Ruth squinted against the brilliance, parts of her grandmother's folklore snapping into focus. They weren't just stories, they were instructions, blueprints for a legacy left behind. If we can align with them, we can shift this darkness. The shadows howled, furious at their audacity. You think you can rewrite your fate? You will learn pain you cannot fathom. Heart racing, Ruth and Matthew joined hands, uniting their wills. We want to let you stop us. Together. Matthew's shout melded with hers, a chorus that echoed defiantly through the warehouse. A blinding flash erupted, consuming the shadows, illuminating their path. They were inches away from stepping into the unknown, into histories too dark to fully comprehend and truths too heavy to bear. Yet, as the light enveloped them, Ruth felt a shiver skitter down her spine. What if unlocking their family's legacy meant unleashing a greater horror than they could possibly contain? With a final gasp, they leapt into the light, leaving behind the cacophony, but a lingering question hung in the air. What awaited them on the other side, and at what cost would they uncover the truth? Ruth and Matthew were engulfed by a brilliant light, all-consuming and warm, full of promise. As they crossed over, time seemed to stretch and splinter, echoes of their past merging seamlessly with the present. In a blink, they found themselves not in the warehouse but in an ancient chamber. The room resounded with a heavy air, the weight of time palpable in every dusty corner. Crumbling stone walls held secrets long forgotten, and a massive, intricately carved altar dominated the space. Illuminated runes danced across its surface, flickering like fireflies, urging them to step closer. Ruth's heart raced. What if we're in the middle of their legacy? She whispered, glancing at Matthew, who seemed equally awestruck. The memories of her grandmother's stories surged back, mysteries of generations who had grappled with shadows much like the ones chasing them now. Maybe we can reverse what's been done, Matthew suggested, determination gleaming in his eyes. As they approached the altar, Ruth noticed a stone tablet nestled in its center, glowing softly, as if responding to their presence. This could be it. She gasped, heart hammering with hope and dread. The answer. Carefully, Matthew brushed aside debris, revealing more of the tablet where delicate carvings told stories of courage, sacrifice, and darkness. It looks like a history of our town, he murmured, tracing the symbols with his finger. The energy in the room thrummed around them, and the shadows outside howled in protest. Suddenly, the laughter from before filled the chamber, cruel and echoing. How delightfully optimistic, children, the woman's voice sliced through the air. You truly think you can change your fate or redeem what was lost? Her silhouette materialized, casting a chilling presence. You cannot rewrite history without consequences. Fear gripped Ruth, yet a spark of defiance ignited within her. We may not rewrite it, but we can uncover the truth. And you won't stop us. The woman's smirk faltered for just a moment, revealing her annoyance before her laughter rose again, wicked and twisted. So be it. Matthew and Ruth shared a glance, resolved to confront the darkness. Stepping closer to the tablet, Ruth could feel the warmth radiating from it, pulling her in. Let us activate it together. With a deep breath, she shouted the phrases from her grandmother's tales, her voice ringing like a clarion call. By the bonds of blood, we break the chains. Let the truth rise. Matthew joined in, words flowing from him, a chorus of light against the relentless shadow. The runes exploded with energy, illuminating the chamber in a halo of brilliance. The temperature dropped abruptly, and a shriek reverberated through the air. As they chanted louder, the altar trembled beneath them. The shadows writhed, clawing at the edges of the altar, but the light surged, a wall against darkness. Stand firm. Matthew urged, his face set with resolve. We're almost there. The shadows are afraid. Propelled by newfound strength, Ruth pushed forward, calling on her family's legacy, her ancestors' courage pulsing through her veins. We reject your dominion. She cried, and the table shone fiercely, illuminating the symbols until a blinding wave surged outward. In that moment, it felt like something deep within her snapped into place. It was as if they awakened a force greater than themselves, one capable of pushing back the shadows for good. Amidst the chaos, Ruth felt weightless. The connection between her and Matthew forged something new, a bond that wasn't only about fighting the past, they were rewriting their futures together. As the brilliant light pierced through the darkness, the woman screamed, then dissolved into the shadows, her laughter echoing until it faded. With the last echoes of the confrontation dissipated, Ruth and Matthew stood in the glow of the tablet, gasping. Did we do it? Ruth breathed, disbelief coloring her voice. Matthew grasped her shoulders, all lighting his features. I think we did. Together. We reclaimed our family's legacy, and we shone a light on the truth. As the light softened, illuminating the chamber, gearing towards peace, hope swelled within Ruth. They weren't just survivors, they were the torchbearers of their history, breaking free of fear and shadows. We need to tell our town, she said determinedly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. They deserve to know. Matthew nodded, a smile breaking through. And we need to keep this secret safe. As they stepped away from the altar, the chamber began to shift, the darkness retreating. It felt like a departure from danger, a closure of a twisted chapter, leaving behind the shadows that had haunted them. They emerged from the chamber, hand in hand, stepping back into the world, ready to embrace their lives anew. With the dawn creeping over the horizon, illuminating their path, Ruth breathed deeply, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. They had uncovered the past, faced the darkness, and rewritten their fate. New stories awaited, stories that would honor the legacy of their town and the bonds they formed. They would carry the truth into the future, letting it sing through their lives, as vibrant and alive as the dawn itself. As they walked toward their town, shadows of the past lingered behind them, now just remnants of what they had triumphed over. They didn't just survive the night, they burned bright against it. Now, here's where you come in. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss more incredible stories like this one. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread these powerful tales. And don't just sit there, flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about what happened. Share this journey with at least 5 friends who need to see how darkness can be overcome. Don't wait even one more second, your action can ignite a spark in someone else's life. Let's keep this community growing and strong.